Hello there, people, and welcome back to a complete newbie's experience with designing with THRED. Yep, this is really like as basic as you could kind of get or so. I'm basically trying to learn THRED as we go along, and yeah. Um, Basically, that's really what it comes down to here, people. Uh, yeah, so let's get some quick music going in the background this time around. Um, Gonna have to like put it on YouTube on replay or something like that, just so you can get something that replays. There was some way to just do that for Quake. It'd be awesome. That's like one thing that really is missing is the ability just to replay the song. But yes, we're gonna have like this going, and that way we'll have it in the background like we did last time. And there we are. So now we have some music going, and now we don't have to worry about like it suddenly cutting off on me. All right, so let's check out this thing. We're going to be checking out THRED again, as I said. This is part 2. Last time around, we've got basically the basics down. We learned how to compile a level, get it in BSP, set up the lighting, make a basic room, carve out the level, make solidified details. That was like basically how detailing works. And so yeah, we basically did the basics needed to create. And we also saw the entity editor, with which we could basically create anything we wanted. Say you want to like create a weapon or something like that, it'd be as simple as going in there, instead of pulling out like a spawn point, you create like a weapon. So yeah, we saw most of what we kind of need to know, at least for the like the real basics. But we have some more to check out. There was more to the tutorial, and so that's why this one's kind of here. It's more of like a expanded advanced tutorial, if you will. There was some stuff in the basics we still hadn't really covered. But yeah, we're going to continue along and check out what else there is to check out. Like I said, we did most of it, so it's mostly now just kind of expansion, I guess you could say. I wish I could just simply reload the level we already did. But if you know from part 1, you'll know a lot of the different little bugs with THRED. At least this test version that came with Aftershock. That's the one we're using. That's the one we have on us currently, and so that's therefore the one I'm showing off in this thing. And this is basically one of the earliest versions available. This is like the second earliest, and the first one was really buggy to a point that you never want to touch it. So yeah, it pretty much is almost near impossible to really do anything with it, simply because of the problem that when you're finished like creating a level, which you basically have to do in one session, you can't really reload that level up again. Because see, the problem is all the menu options or anything, it's like the level becomes read-only or something, and you're not able to edit it at all. So yeah, basically as soon as you step out of the editor, basically you get the inability to do anything with it. So yeah, it becomes just basically something to look at. And the basin file that's included really kind of stinks, because all it shows is entities. It doesn't even show like the level design prospect itself. Like, you can't even see the physical cubes or anything in there. I don't know how he did that or why that is, but yeah, we can't see anything in there at all. It's totally useless. Hooray! A bunch of useless garbage that we don't care about. But yeah, basically, you need to like compile it using, CMD. You need to go to your command line. You need to go to the directory that has THRED. Use QBSP to output it out. Transfer that BSP file over to the main Quake directory. Hopefully you get the right one, because there's a bunch of different directories in here that serve zero purpose for what we're actually doing. It might actually have something to do with the loader, maybe? I guess that maybe is what it's about, is because of the Aftershock loader versus the actual physical way you could load it in as like a custom campaign. But if you load it in as a custom campaign, you really want to be using the AAS folder instead of your Aftershock folder, because otherwise the Aftershock folder will not recognize it at all, even though it looks pretty much identical. Yeah. Amazing little details like that definitely got in the way, and thus made it into a 2-hour thing where we really got little to nothing done, besides the very, very basics of this. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing today. I mean, I did show you really what most of the basics are, but I do want to show you a few more things before we close up shop, and so that's why we're doing part 2, the advanced stuff. Or, well, semi-advanced in comparison to what we did last time. So yeah, here we are. This time around, I've already gotten all the display stuff fixed up. Everything's already ready to go, and we're ready to edit some thread. Yeah! Now we have to redo everything we did last time, so this is like also a good preview for what we did last time, but a lot less is going to be explained as I'm just going to blast through it. 512 by 512, 1024 by 1024. For the bottom, we want it to be 256 for the Y size. Have it, to be hollow, so that way now we have a nice carved out cube. We want to have it on the 4 views, of course, not the regular, so we can see this. Get rid of that window, and we want to have this viewed out so we have the total view of our sides. Want to zoom in so we can see the actual physical cube, though I assume actually when we make it solidified it's going to... No, this time it didn't. Last time around it made it like a little bit bigger and we had to resize afterwards. Not really sure what happened there then. You guys figure it out. I sure don't know. So yeah, I have the Quake soundtrack just playing in the background. Someone has the Quake soundtrack on YouTube. I'm just using that. That'll work, right? Hooray! Hooray for having stuff on repeat. Okay, so here we are. Here's our texture. Now, I assume we can actually go in still because it's still selected. Actually, we probably can't now, can we? Because this is a duplicate. So, yeah, can we, like, Control-Z to go back? No, we can't undo either. Well, this really stinks! And I have no way to select it. Well, it stinks! Now I have to undo it. Okay, let's redo the entire freaking thing. Yeah, you basically have to do things in the right order or else you get messed over. Ain't this an amazing program? Yeah, this is definitely like a heavily buggy version of THRED, if you haven't already noticed. So let's start off with the 4 views, get this already kind of going. We want to have everything like set up so we can actually see it fully visible on all 4 views, instead of like, how we kind of wait. I guess that's why exactly, because the fact that we start out with this cube and then it becomes a much bigger object when we change the cube scales. Let's change the cube scales actually. So yeah, 1024 by 1024, 512 by 512. We want it 256. We want it to be hollow. And there we are. Hooray, a freaking level. Aren't you happy? This is all we really did. Wait, this is exactly the opposite of what we want. Oh, okay. 512 by 512, 1024 by 1024. I have it backwards, so I just have to do this, and we get the opposite. There we are. Okay, so we got step 1 done. We got a freaking object visible somewhere. Okay, now if we can pan upwards, we can see that. And now we just need to get out, zoomed out this way. Okay. Hooray, we actually got something. Now, this time around, before we do anything else, we need to go into our texture browser. We need to find a good texture that looks good. I like this one. And I'm going to say this. This is what I want. That one. Yeah, that one. Okay. Now we can create the cube, if I'm correct. It looks absolutely no different at all, but if we go to our entity viewer, which I believe entity viewer is this. Plus concrete. Yep, okay. Yeah, see, the textures, you can't even tell that the texture is different at all in the editor itself. Like, you look at this, all you see is a gray block. But you basically have to view the attributes editor and see that the text is different on the attributes editor. And that basically tells you that it's working. If that doesn't sound counterintuitive, I don't know what is. You see something, it obviously doesn't look textured, but it is textured. This really stinks when there's no bloody texture view. Anyway, let's see here. We now have to add our attribute to the level. I think an attribute is... What is that an attribute? Is it this? I forget now. I think yes it is. And then we want to come down here. We want to go to our info player start. We want to pull the player start into the level. That's going to basically put in the middle of the level. That's pretty good. But that's basically just our default little basic level here. Now we want to create some other cubes. So we're going to go back here. We're going to create something that's by 16 by 16 by 16 by 16 by 300. We're going to make this into a solid object, and this is going to be our basic structure, or a column, if you will. And now the question is, where exactly is this thing? Because it seems like it's selected in every view besides top. But I won't worry about that. Let's go to navigate around, and let's move this to one of the corners. I like having the 4 corners or so. It works. It's simple enough, and it looks pretty nice, like a designated spot to put them. So yeah, and that is pretty nice. Okay, create that one, and let's move it to a second, and create a nice little ring of these. Get this one down. One more. And that's how you do that. Okay, so we have our 4 little textures. Unless, of course, you actually wanted to, texture to be not the same texture as what we already did. In which case, you're pretty much doomed. Why? Because I have no idea how to select all textures. I don't know how to edit, remove, or anything. Yeah, you'd think Gregory... No, not Gregory McMartin. Gregory McMartin has nothing to do with this. You would think Jim Lowell would tell us how to do that. Selecting a texture would be pretty useful to know. How do you select an object? I mean, to help, press F1. Fail to launch help! Yes! I love it. I love it. Thank God for incompatible help programs. So yeah, we're pretty much out of luck for finding out how to do anything that isn't told to us in this tutorial. So yeah, we're pretty much getting a giant middle finger on how to edit anything. So at this point, I'm just going to say I don't even care, and I'm just going to leave the textures all one texture thing. I showed you how to get to the texture thing and how to edit that. Yeah, but it really doesn't matter. We've kind of gotten past that. So let's go back to camera view. We want to pull up the light. We want to pull this light in. We want to move it to... Oop, I'm moving the actual thing. I need to go to my entity editor. There we are. Now we move these, and this will basically allow us to move each one of these lights around. Now we just keep doing this over and over repeatedly. It's kind of a generic, boring process of go here, pull light, go here, pull light. Hopefully this time we'll actually make the shadows noticeable. Because last time around the problem was that the shadows weren't that noticeable. Like, it was almost like because we just kind of threw some stuff in random places, it kind of just was like, bleh. Okay, so I'm going to try and save this as a test map. And we're going to also do this as export out to Quake as tests. Okay, it only took us 12 minutes to do what took us 2 hours before. Yeah, you could definitely tell knowing the procedure really helps in timing here. So let's see, now you go to CMD, you pull up this, you go CD, /, then you go to where you want to go to. So set be CD. Actually, no, I want to go to my E drive first. And now I go CD, Quake Mess, Aftershock, THRED. And if you're curious, by the way, people, why it's called Quake Mess and not Quake, it's because this is a mess of a directory where I have a bunch of random garbage. My main Quake area is where I have GL Quake and where I have my normal Quake setup that I use in the past. Quake Mess is kind of my 1.01 versus, my 1.06 versus my 1.09 setup that I have for my Quake folder. So yeah, it's just a little subtle detail between the two. Eventually, it probably will just be that Quake Mess will be transferred over to Quake, but for the time being, it's called Quake Mess. Yeah. Okay, so we want to do now QBSP test. That did that. Okay, now we want to do light test. That's that. Okay, that's brilliant enough, right? Hopefully I actually did something. I honestly don't even know. It's kind of subtle like that. Hooray for really, really subtle stuff. Okay, so now we move this over to here. And now it should be loading up because it's in AS maps, all that. So we want to, like... You can be shrunken out. That's you two on repeat. And now we want to pull up this. Now, you guys, you can see if this thing bloody works. Quake music with Quake music! What an amazing concept! Okay. But yeah, here's our shadows. Look at that. Now you can actually see the shadows because we have a real texture on things. Like I said, it's the same generic texture I threw on everything. But then again, some levels at Aftershock were just horribly textured, so does it really matter? Wait a minute. I never created the 4th brick, apparently. I see. I never created the 4th block. Yeah, see, this is the thing. You just kind of see it there, but I never actually created it. Oh. That's a thing. So let's create it. And now we get to save this as test. Get to export to Quake. Get to pull up our CMD line. I'm not sure if I have to like delete all the other junk in here or something like that. Like you go to my THRED folder and you'll see all these files are like here. Like everything besides the map file I don't get. Like what's PRT, PTS, and all that stuff. Post-traumatic disorder or something like that. Post-traumatic stress something. I don't know. But yeah, it's really weird stuff. Okay, so C. Wait, no. Can I just, like, go to E directory? Yes, I could. So why on earth am I even trying to bother going to C? Yeah, I could just type E and I'd be at E. Okay, I just realized I've overcomplicated my life before. Quick mess. Aftershock. THRED. Okay, now we want QBSP again, and we want to do it to test. We want to do light to test. And now we get to pull this beautiful thing. Could I just, like, leave this up? I think that'd actually help. If I just leave this up, because then I just have to do QBSP instead of navigating to a directory. That would save some time, I think, people. I think that'd make my life a lot easier. So yeah, I'm going to keep that up. I know it's going to be a pain to keep all these windows up. It's kind of getting like more and more bogged down, but whatever. Multitasking. It's about keeping a bunch of windows up. My computer can handle it. It's just I have like a little retention disorder or something when it comes to like keeping windows up. It just bugs me. I kind of like to keep things minimized and cleaned up as much as possible so I don't like... I guess I'm kind of used to having like weak computers, so I'm like afraid of keeping a bunch of windows up even though I can handle it totally. So it's like if I'm not using it, I try and close it out, and that ends up being a problem here. It works a lot better if you just leave everything up. So yeah, look at this, 4 pillars, and some darkness and whatever. Yeah. Not the most impressive thing, but it gives you a basic idea for how to create a level. You know, it's all one texture. We could have switched textures around. Like I said, I wish there was a way to easily change textures after the object is made. That would make life a lot better. That and being able to do something that's not just based on visual guessing. Like, being able to actually define where I'm putting my objects in, like, 3D space would make my life so much better. That's really an amazing thing of, like, every other editor that isn't here. And that quality of life improvement really is a problem. Because trying to randomly guess, it just doesn't lead to perfect symmetry. It's not perfect. You know, I do like some of the features about this editor, though. For one, it's very, very quick if you want to duplicate stuff. Like, all you have to do is basically just go one, then the next, and you pretty much just blast a bunch of duplication. Though I don't think it's too hard to duplicate everything else. Usually you can, like, select what you want, like, press a duplicate button, and you can duplicate it. But whatever. It's pretty fast to duplicate. You don't even, like, need to change anything. And other than that, it's relatively decent. So it's not like the spawn of Satan or so, and honestly it's actually pretty legible for certain things. It just, you know, is absolute pain if you want to edit your level after it's finished or whatnot, which really stinks. You know, I have to do everything in one session, which is really terrible. I don't get why on earth they, you know, I mean, I thought 0.6 is supposed to fix that, but 0.6 doesn't seem to fix that at all, people. Then again, Quake itself had a massive save game bug at the time. And we could create a lot of complicated geometry you can't even use in the games, so that's a thing too. So yeah, we're basically at where we were at before, so now what? Why exactly do I need to make a part 2? Well, let's see. How about this time around I show you guys how to add some water to the map. I haven't shown any like fluids or hazards or anything like that, so let's try and make some water. Okay. To add water to a Quake level, simply change the texture of a brush to water, 1, and everything inside the brush will become water. Let's do this to our level. Okay, let's create a Qbots. And this one is going to be, X1200 by Z1200, okay. And see, one nice thing about this editor is also the tapered effects. Like, it's very easy to create a tapered effect here. More easy than, like, any other one. I mean, it's easy enough if you wanted to, like, scale it down. You can usually just select one side and, like, taper it down if you wanted to. But it's ridiculously easy here, and it's a very nice little extra feature that I like. I don't have, like, any complaints at all. It also wants to be 128 tall. We still have yet to bother about wall thickness, so that's beside the point. I'm guessing we want it to be solid. It doesn't say anything about not being solid. Yeah, he kind of is cryptic about that. He doesn't say anything. So yeah, we're going to like drag this out and see what happens. Oops, now I'm dragging an entity. I just dragged an entity, people. Okay, I'm going to snap that back over here. I want to go... If I click mail bounce button, I'll get back here, but that won't help me. I need to get to this one. And now we can move this around. In top view, drag this brush around so it fits the room entirely inside of it, okay? So we kind of want the room like inside of the entire brush. It's like this works. Really, it's not that complicated, so because it's all subtractive and these are pretty much solid brushes, it really doesn't matter. As long as you're not making a big room and want a bunch of stuff carved away. Yeah, you basically want to subtract the rooms that you want, then you add these extra details. But since this is really the only room we're worrying about here, because I'm just following the tutorial and calling it a day, yeah. So let's see here. We have this. I mean, at some later time, we might find like another thread or so, like a better version. And I might be able to show you guys some extra features added by the newer versions. But for the time being, this is all we're given in the Aftershock official thing. And so that's what I'm basing all this on. So let's see here. We need to go to side of front view and drag the brush so it sticks out just below the room. But most of it is inside the room itself. Like this kinda. This works. I don't really think it matters too much, but there we are. Hooray! Okay. Now we go to the brush attributes area. Well, brush attributes? Yeah, you could. I guess you don't have to worry about it or whatever. Or you could go like this and go to water 1 and select it, and now if you go to your brush attributes. See, the interesting thing is, they say about this is to change it to water 1, but this is 04MW2. So if I change this to water 1, what happens? Is it actual valid texture? Or is there a problem with this? I don't want it to be a bad texture or something, but at this point it's pretty much saying, yeah. And if I create this texture, I'm not going to be able to fix it later on. And I can't see what I'm doing. You realize the problem with this, people. This is why this is bad. This is why this editor is so frustrating. I can't edit after it's creating the level, but I can't see it until I actually play the game. It's a terrible linear set of events that if you create anything in the wrong order at all, you pretty much just broke your level and you can't do anything about it. It's horrible because of that, because it's always like these tedious things. All because I cannot select a brush. Really being able to select a brush would make my life so much easier, but I can't do that. I just have a bunch of navigating buttons. Let's hope this actually works. I'm going to trust you, dude. Actually, couldn't I just like subtract the brush? I tried subtracting the brush. It doesn't seem to be working. Now I'm confused. What is subtract brush about? I thought subtract brush would subtract the brush from the world. That didn't seem to help it at all. I'm not even sure what I did. Did I do anything? Did I mess up the world now? I don't even know. I don't even know what subtract brush does. I figured that'd be like the way to remove it. Like you go over what you want to delete, use subtract brush, and it delete it. Nope. I deleted it from the same exact spot I made it, and it did nothing. So yeah, Who knows how to delete a brush or modify a brush at all that you've created? What a terrible concept. That's all the standalone levels. We'll be checking that out very shortly. Where am I going? I'm in THRED. So let's see here. We want to delete everything that isn't the map file. Actually, the map file is old too. So yeah, we want to do this, and then we want to save this as export to Quake tests. Okay, now we want to pull up this. We want to say QBSP test, light test, and we can pull out the BSP file, take this and move this to my Aftershock directory here. We replace this here. There we are. Boom, baby. Boom, baby. And we go back to here. We pull up DOSBots. We get into here, and we can actually check out this bloody thing. And hopefully this actually works. What the? Well, that was not promising. I tried to load up map test and it crashed on me entirely. Bad surface extents. Okay, so we totally broke the level. Hooray! The lesson here, never press subtract brush, people. I don't even know what I did, but it seems I broke the level. Well, this stinks. Okay, now I'm going to just try and play it safe, and we're going to recreate it, but I'm going to do the safe route instead of what I did this time. This is also another thing, if you haven't already noticed, people, is that you can easily get errors. And now you can see why I'm not really that enthusiastic about trying to, like, create a bunch of levels for you guys to show in, like, THRED or something like that. This is a lot like, you know, how, like, Drumhead would go or something like that. It's pretty much, you know, if you can make anything with it, it's impressive at all because of how frustrating it is to work with. You know, and it's actually even pretty much more terrible in this because you can't do anything with it if you even somewhat mess up. At least in Drumhead, you can fix your errors. Here it's just broken. So yeah, let's try this again. This is very, very tedious. I know, people. I know it's probably very repetitive to see me do the same things over and over. I probably could edit it out and make it, like, nice and convenient for you guys, but I want you to see the pain. I want you to see what I have to go through to try and get a bloody level to work. I can see what's about THRED. Wait, I closed the about THRED topic and that crashed me out of the level. Really? Really? Wait, is it like I clicked the X and then did it? Oh, yeah, okay. So if you close about THRED, you basically crash. That stinks. And, of course, that's your help. That doesn't work. Hooray! Okay, what are we on to? Well, we're back to trying to figure out what we're doing from the start. We are back to step 1. Why? Because this bloody thing got an error. And because we can't even edit levels, so we couldn't make a backup to begin with. If this was any other editor at all, we could have just made a backup and reload that backup, and we would be fine right now. We could just retry it again. Nope. This one, you have to recreate everything from scratch. Can you see why this editor is pretty terrible, at least in the beta version that was released with Aftershock? Like, I can't imagine anyone designing levels with this thing. I find it amazing that people did that. I do have to give them credit there. Like I said, as a technical thing, it's pretty impressive, the different stuff that people do. I cannot give gripes about that. When I'm usually criticizing level, it has to do with the fact of its entertainment value, how much interesting it is as an actual player, as opposed to like a technical design thing. Everything's pretty impressive technically designed, but honestly, at the end of the day, and this is where I kind of differ from certain people, I feel like even though you have to give credit where credit's due for someone doing it on a hard editor, it also needs to be fun. Because what's the point if it's not fun? At the end of the day, I'm going to play what I want to play, what I find actually entertaining. If I don't find your level entertaining, why do I want to waste my time on it? Yes, it may have been a hard editor to work with. Yes, it was a struggle. Yes, I understand this. It was, a pain in the butt to make. But if your level is not fun, then there's just no point. At the end of the day, it becomes something that has big flaws or something to gripe about or something like that. Like I said, it definitely is that you can give praise because of the fact that they designed it with a hard editor to make with, but you do have to also take into mind that as a player, what you do is you play a game for fun. You play a game for entertainment. And if you're not being entertained, then what's the point? And that's kind of really where it kind of comes down to and what the differences between everything is. It comes down to that entertainment factor or how much actually you find it fun in the first place. So, yeah, this is kind of more of a frustrating editor to work with and definitely is something that stint you. And I can't really blame people at the time because this is really the only 3D editor that you had this time. You have to remember, this is the first one that ever came out, predated even Quake. This was like around the time Q-Test was coming out, they were doing this. And they were making some of the deathmatch levels for Quake. So, yeah. Before Quake was even released, they were already making levels for this thing. So that definitely makes it pretty early in the cycle before we even had our first full official 3D game with like nice textures and all that. I'm not talking about like those early polygonal 3D games like Alone in the Dark or all that whereby it's like really clunky 3D models. No, I'm talking about actual nice 3D and like everything being 3D instead of it just being like some of the enemies are 3D but the guns are sprites or something like that. I'm talking about something that's for like the most part 3D. I know about Quake sprites or whatnot, the light fixture or so that's a sprite, and there's certain little few details in the world that are sprites, but like I said, by and large, Quake at this point is a 3D game, and the few sprites don't really get in the way of it being 3D. You look at it, you're going to say it's 3D. You don't say it's a sprite-based game at this point. Doom is still sprite-based. It has most of its things sprite-based. Well, why is it sprite-based? The world itself is 3D, but what isn't 3D are the enemies and the weapons and, well, even kind of the world because you couldn't place things on top of each other. But like, say like Duke Nukem 3D as a better example. That's still a sprite game. Why? Because the fact of the matter that the enemies were sprites and the weapons were sprites. The things that you were interacting with, the things that you'd see the most in the game were sprites. I don't care about an explosion or particles or all that. That can be sprites. That is honestly, it doesn't make a world of difference if it's 3D or sprites. I can imagine to this day, there's still times that they use sprites just because it's lesser on system resources and in times where the user doesn't need to see that much detail in something. It makes sense to use sprites, just as a quick little cheap thing, just to make it easier on system resources. Now, compare that to something like, Doom or Duke Nukem, you can easily see the weapon is a sprite, the enemies are sprites, and it looks pretty flat at all times. I guess that's the big difference. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off subject to what we were talking about, which is THRED, and how this editor is frustrating to use, but you can, give credit where credit's due, while at the same time acknowledging that the levels are not fun to play, and criticize it because of that. That's kind of what exactly I do. Like I said, I acknowledge these editors are very, very frustrating. A lot of the editors in the late 90s are pretty frustrating to work with. I don't think until we get to the time of GTK Radiant or Unreal Edit that we don't really get a nice solid editor that's actually feels pretty decent. Until such time, everything felt pretty frustrating, especially this. I'm not too sure about Worldcraft or something like that. Never really played with that, but I can tell you offhand that THRED is a very unstable editor in this very early version. I'm not sure even about the final version of THRED. Never seen that. But this version that we have before us is heavily buggy, to the point that it's barely usable. I mean, barely. It surprises me the stuff that was able to be pulled off. I mean, you see, how much of a struggle it is for me to make a room, and then you talk about, Gregory A. McMartin's levels or so. You have to say, he did a lot. But at the same hand, some of his levels just weren't fun in the end. They were frustrating in some way or terrible in some way. And so thus you have to give gripes where gripes are made. Like I said, as a technical thing, you can be impressed by it, while at the same time saying it as a player, it's not a fun thing to do. Anyway, enough about that. I kind of think I just repeated myself in a bunch of different ways, but I thought it'd be necessary to state it because a lot of people usually argue, like, I know especially for Thief, I've never really heard for Quake, but for Thief, usually it's always, well, you have to, say every fan mission is great because it was made with a very hard to make editor, so you have to be appreciative something was made at all. And yes, as a technical thing and as an appreciative thing, I am. As a general rule, it's nice to have more content just because, it keeps it interesting, keeps it active, and keeps it so that way you have more things to check out. But as a, if you want actual quality over quantity, and you want those quality things to be worth it or so, it really doesn't matter if it's a hard engine to make with or a good engine to make with. All that really matters in the end is that the user experience is good. If the user experience is bad, then it's going to be bad. It's that simple. If I'm frustrated with it and having a bad time and smashing keys, I'm not going to be thinking about the engine behind it being a tough engine to work with. As a technical product, I will. As looking in hindsight and looking at the actual level and seeing how everything was kind of made, it can definitely be an amazing technical product. Especially when you start getting to some of those complex engine tricks. And this will definitely become more relevant as we continue along and we start getting to later stuff whereby they try and basically create their own games within other engines. Say you continue along with Quake or Thief or any of these games, what ends up happening eventually is you go from stuff that's pretty true to the game, and it's basically different levels, to stuff that's basically total mods and totally different campaigns that try and do their own thing. And usually, more often than not, they try their own mechanics, rather it be cutscenes, rather it be anything. And the problem is, some of this stuff is absolutely frustrating. It's absolutely terrible design, so just because of how it plays in the end result. It's impressive technically because this thing wasn't possible at all in the original game. But in the end result, if I'm not having fun with it, and I find it just irritates me because it's now a new annoying feature that wouldn't have been in the original game, I'm going to complain about it. And I think at the end of the day, that's one big thing that really separates me from some people. Because I really am just going to say, quite honestly, if the level's fun in gameplay mode or not. I'm not looking at it from a technical standpoint. If I was looking at it from a technical standpoint, a lot of stuff is pretty impressive. To use most editors and be able to do the stuff you can do, as long as it's not a basic crude ROM like I'm making, it's pretty impressive. But really, like I said, there's a big difference between impressive technically and actually a fun, playable level that's worth your time. Like I said, unless you're an editor, you're not going to be appreciative of the technical value generally, as far as I see. You're going to be interested in how the level plays and if the level's actually fun. And that's really what I kind of don't get sometimes about how people are. Like I said, it's just a difference in how people view it, I guess, in different perspectives. And my perspective is the level should be fun. It's that simple. Anyway, back to what we're doing, which is trying to fight with THRED, the most evil editor in the world. Actually, definitely one of the more frustrating editors in the world, if you haven't noticed, because of the fact of how it's all these little details that if you do one thing out of sequence, it totally breaks your level. That stinks. Really, I don't know how people did anything that wasn't just blindly following this tutorial, because how many times is blindly following this tutorial going to break on me? Yeah. Like I said, it's a matter of just do this, create a thing, and hopefully get through this godforsaken thing. I just want to show off some basic stuff, and we've already gone about 40 minutes into this, and we've yet to really, I haven't even been able to show off water yet. It pretty much is broken on me. Yeah, amazing, right? So let's zoom out. I hope you like it in the fact that I'm repeating myself, and I'm glad I kind of separated into two parts, because, yeah, this is getting really, repetitive or so. Anyway, let's go in here and let's get to the texture browser. That works. And I want to use this texture. Good. Okay, so far so good, right? Obviously. Minimize this. And now we can create this texture and use it in the world, which if we look at the object properties, we're using bus concrete. That means we are finally doing something that's good. So far. Remember, anything we do wrong at all in this bloody level will of course mess us up permanently. Which really stinks. That's what makes me really paranoid about doing anything. I can imagine this is why people probably rush things to completion and really didn't like care besides slapping things together. Because who wants to sit around playing in this thing when the slightest mess up is pretty permanent? It just isn't fun to work with. I like messing around with level editors, and this one's just really tedious. Like really bad because of that. Okay, I mean, it's still interesting from a technical standpoint and a historical standpoint, but it definitely isn't, like, the best editor to actually make something with. I couldn't see myself actually sitting down and trying to use this as an actual thing on my own to make something really good. And I believe this is why I completely forget how to do anything, because at the end of the day, who wants to do this? Who wants to like sit here and make these texture-based things? Especially when you have so many modern alternatives that are so much better than this. And that's kind of where it comes down to. Even the editor of THRED himself said, don't use THRED. So, yeah. I could kind of see why we wouldn't use THRED in the modern day. Why he really would recommend any other editor besides his own. Because this is pretty terrible. From a design standpoint, this is just pretty terrible. So we're going to replay this entire thing. Redo it all. Just get the 4 pillars in the 4 corners. Okay, that's a start, right? Okay, now we want to create our lights. Go to empty editor mode. Move the lights over to different corners. Let's go like about halfway. Doesn't really matter. We can't really like even designate where specific spots are, so I'm like totally just based on visibility. Man, the problem about this is I'm not like it because it's too close to a wall. Luckily here we can actually move these in. Wouldn't it be nice if there was like a way to do this in move mode regularly? Then I wouldn't actually have half the gripes I'm having gripes with. Oh, well this is still like interesting. It's still like outside the world. Yeah, I want to like move these in so that way they're not like pushed against the edge and not actually working. Okay, which one am I missing? This one. Let's just move this over. See, like I said, this is actually pretty easy to work with. I don't have too many gripes with this, but you know, I digress. I've been ranting about this for a long time, and we just need to get through this godforsaken thing. I just want to get something. I just want to show you something different. At this point, I just want to do something that we haven't done yet, and so far that doesn't seem to be wanting to work. So I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, like that. Okay, that works. I slapped together something. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Okay, now time to try and make the water thing. I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to use one of the textures that we actually see in the texture browser. Because I don't really get why he's telling me to use a texture that we don't have in the texture browser. That sounds kind of silly. Like, why wouldn't you tell me to use your own Aftershock textures? Maybe they were differently named. Like, I mean, this is the same guy who called it, like, ASDM instead of DMAS. So, yeah, I don't think we can actually trust him to give us accurately named things based on the fact that he probably had an earlier date. So, what we're going to do now is create a cube. I think, what is it, 2048? I forget what exactly the length of it is. It is 12,000. That's what we want. Yeah, he's totally breaking numbering conventions now. I don't even know what he's basing this on. You know, that'd be a nice thing, actually. Jim Lowell, it would be nice if you explained to me why you were doing half the things you're doing. Why does this need to be 1200 by 1200? Why couldn't it be something else? Is there a rational reason for any of this? Please tell me. Please tell me, Jim Lowell. This is kind of, you know, the thing. You know, and this is actually a problem I see with a lot of tutorials on the internet. And something I should really gripe about. It's the fact that a lot of tutorials, and the problem I have with a lot of them, is the fact of the matter that most tutorials out there don't actually help you at all. They pretty much just say good luck. They pretty much give you like an instruction manual or so. They tell you what to do, but they don't tell you why you're doing it. And they pretty much tell you what to do by basically telling you basic directions or so, or something like this. And like I said, they don't tell you any rational reason why I'm doing it, to the point that I just don't even know. I just am pretty much texturing things and pretty much following this thing blindly. And I get the basic idea of what I'm doing, but I don't get why he's doing what he's doing. Why am I doing 1200? Why did it have to be this height? Is there a rational reason? How does this explain at all with numbering? Do I just like choose an arbitrary number between 1 and 1,000? I don't really know how I'm supposed to base my numbering scheme on. I thought it was based on like 64, based on the idea that that's like the default grid size. But at this point, I'm totally confused. And I have no idea how like you even get like quick measurements. I don't know how you know how to scale your level properly at this point. Like, good luck to you. Because this thing is totally confusing me. So yeah, hooray for more confusion. Okay, the attributes dialog. It's using M1-2. It seems to be working appropriately. I guess I'm gonna just add this brush to the world and hope for God's name it works. Like, it's supposed to be solid, right? Right, guys? I hope so. I mean, I don't see why not. Watch as it turns out it's supposed to be hollow. He really should explain some more things to me. Like, how to avoid these pitfalls in the first place. I mean, this isn't even like DOS-based stuff anymore or anything like that. No, it's actually just a badly written tutorial. But did I just like try and import? I think so. I think I tried to import. There we are. Okay, now we want to... Oh, I closed my BSP thing. Bloody... God, now I have to do this whole thing again. Okay, Quake Mess... Wait, no, I need to do CD... Quake Mess Aftershock... Thread, then we have to do QBSP test, and we have to do light test. It's just very repetitive and not very user-friendly at all. It would be nice if we just had a nice pretty little button to compile the stuff for us. Because we need to do this function a lot. One thing that would be really awesome? The fact that it has a quick BSP button, but we're not supposed to be using that way. Like, what's the point of the quick BSP button? That could have been nice to tell me actually what the point of that is. What's the point of that if it doesn't even do anything? Like, it doesn't sound like it helps me at all. Well, here we are, freaking water. You wanted water? You got water. Congratulations. As you see, we just throw it wherever we want it, like, to kind of be. And that's how you get, like, floating blocks of water. Like, you get those water elevators. This is kind of why. Because all it is basically just a solid cube thrown wherever you want in the level. What happens if we no-clip outside of our entering thread level? As you see, it totally disappears whatever is outside of the level. It doesn't matter. Like, say you want it, like, outside the level somewhat. Yeah, this is basically what happens. Only what's inside of the level itself is visible. And so therefore, it's this little area here. This is basically all solid outside of this one area, if you haven't already noticed. And so really, this is all water now, this little area. And we could have made it a lot smaller. We could have made it like a square cube that went up in our room. And that's really, like I said, what kind of comes to that. And really, this is basically the idea, is that you basically create a square around what you want to, like, make as a room. Get a general size that you want and basically throw in. Congratulations, you got water. And this really is kind of how they make it. So yeah, you wanted water. There. I showed you something different. I hope you're happy. I showed you something. Even though now we can't do anything with it and it's kind of there. Okay, so there we are. Now we're swimming around in water. I hope you liked it. I'm glad I showed you that, right? Anyway, important stuff to talk about here is, like I said, besides the fact of the matter that we also have basin, and all this other junk that's really just used to load up QBSP, all that. We also have. What are you about? I don't get these H1 files or the P files or all that. Isn't that like junk that should just be cleaned up afterwards? It'd be nice if it was like cleaned up after it was done. Because I really think these are like temporary files needed for like compiling it, but not used in the end result. And at that point, why is it even there? Why even have that? What, just that way I have extra files I have to dig through? It just feels pointless. Okay, so let's see here. I mean, this isn't even like made to be on DOS, so it's made to be on like DOS mixed with Windows and like Windows 95 environment. Okay, so an important thing to mention here is that we have my WAD. It's a WAD file, which, as you can kind of see, if you load it up, I'm using my Slade 3 editor. Actually, that doesn't help me at all. Yeah, that's my Doom editor. That's not going to help me here at all. Oopsie daisy. Let's see here. Actually, if I pull up like Dragon Unpacker, that's what I want. Let me actually get that thing for a second, because really the way it's working right now is I'm not able to really check out the PAK files as it kind of stands. Amazing. They haven't actually had a new Dragon Unpacker since 2016. The project actually might be dead. Oh well, it works as it kind of did. So I guess it doesn't really matter in the end result, but yeah, it might be dead. Okay, let's see here. Let's get to Dragon Packer and pull this thing out, and this is 5.7 beta. Oh, this is that's kind of why, because it's a beta version now. Yeah, I'll just create all this stuff. I don't need a desktop icon, because I would just be loading up from files. Usually, if it's something I can just load up from the files, it would never load up by itself. I don't usually like throwing it anywhere besides just where I'm going to load it up from, because it's much easier just to load the application you want to use with it in the first place. So let's see here. Quake mess, Aftershock. I need to see if like it's working with it or whatnot. No, it's still using Slade. I need to switch it to Dragon Packer now. Is it in here? No, it isn't. Let's go to program files, x86, and get my Dragon Packer. And that way now we'll open up with it. Hopefully. Select my language. French? Why is it default to French? Okay, what the heck is this about, people? Yeah. I'm looking at like what Dragon Packer is for a second. I just want to try and get it working, and it looks horribly broken. I'm not sure if this is actually how it's supposed to be. Let's see here. Trying to see if there's like anything I need to set up quickly or whatnot. Honestly, isn't it like PAK files normally? Yeah, it's not a WAD file. It's normally a PAK file. That would explain a lot. I was just trying to download Dragon Packer for a PAK file, not a WAD file. Slade is what I like for my WAD files. So I actually want to switch it back to Slade. Dragon Packer is for here, all my different WAD files, which is I could see in here. I could load up if I want to pull up my like sound files here or something like that. Yeah, that works perfectly fine. So yeah, this is just really totally useless at this point. It's really just... Okay, now I need to convert back my WAD file to... Yeah, so it's a WAD file. Weird. I find that interesting, people, that the WAD file in here is a WAD file and not a PAK file, because I'm used to PAK files when it comes to Quake. But here's a WAD file. Weird. But okay, yeah, it's basically a file that basically includes some basic textures. You can use any WAD as a texture source if you want. Simply put the WAD in your Quake THRED directory and select it from the map settings menu option in the file menu. You can use other palettes the same way. let's see here. How does one do that? So let's see here. My WAD comes with it. You can use any WAD as a texture. Simply put the WAD in your thread directory and select it from the map setting menu option, which it's basically doing already. And same with palette, which is the LMP file. So basically you have a WAD file and a palette file, and these are the default textures that come with it in this basic version of THRED. And basically both are stunted versions of what's in regular Aftershock. If you really wanted to, you could basically pull out like the WAD file that's in normal Aftershock or whatever, and I guess use the texture files with that if it has like a WAD file. I'm not sure if it actually has a WAD file. I'm not sure if like they make it in such a way that it's like impossible to access or so. Like if I go to like Aftershock, would I like be able to pull it out from the BSB file? I mean, the BSB file isn't what I want, is it? But how does one then do it? How would one pull these out? But if I go back to like id1 and go to like PAK0 or so, and I like come to here, you see there's like a graphics WAD. There's a WAD file we could pull up from that. But isn't there like, where are the WAD files for like all the other types of WADs? Like where's Wizard WAD and all these other types of WADs that you could use generally? See, I'm not sure if it's done in such a way. It seems like it's using light maps mostly. LMP files for the textures. If anything. Most of the graphics are in here. LMP files. Of course, that's all the menus. These are all like the menus, the objects, all that you pull up. These aren't like the actual textures that are on the level either. So I'm guessing what actually happened is it's pulled from graphics.wad. It's gotta be. So yeah, it's gotta be pulled from graphics.wad. You basically pulled out, or maybe it's pulled from the bin file here. If I pull out the bin file, that actually doesn't help me at all. But yeah, basically, there's a WAD file in here that has graphics in it. Might have something in it. I have no freaking clue. Because this is pretty much what we get. Look at this. Black and white textures you can barely see. Yeah. I think these are all like HUD files anyway. These are all like the HUD and not the actual graphics. See, if I was to say it was anywhere, I'd say it's in like either like the progs.dat or the end1.bin. And that's pulled out into the maps. And so if I like come in here, you could easily see all the textures at work being pulled out from something. Like, let's go into Quake Army Night for a second and see like, where are the textures coming from here? Like all these textures, where did they come from? But as you see, they have a texture browser in here too. Not that I'm really sure at the moment how you get to it. But yeah, it basically, it uses its own Quake Army Knife files for that, so you can't really get much info. Yeah, they have to make it hard. They don't want to make it easy, people, apparently. But yeah, honestly, that's one of the biggest problems when it comes to editing Quake. Quake is so old and almost like a weird hybrid between DOS and Windows because it was right on the verge of being Windows but still DOS based, to a point that a lot of things are cryptic to edit in comparison to modern things. So if this was like a more modern engine at all, like say a little bit later, we probably would have had stuff that would be a lot easier to edit and access, and tear apart files and modify the files and do whatever we want with them, and much easier to see format than what we have here. as it stands right now, a lot of it's thrown into like the Quake code, which is kind of a pain to edit, and stuff that's thrown into a bin file. I think like you could probably like get something to open that, and hopefully it's in there. Like I said, it's all just thrown out in random areas though, and good luck to you in finding out what does what. Anyway, as I said, basically that's how you pull in the WAD file though, which really we don't care about because we only care about my WAD at the moment. When you select a new texture WAD, you must close the current map and load a new map, or start a new map before the texture change will take effect. Oh. Oh. If you don't, you will still see the old textures in the texture browser until you do. Wait, if we have to create a new map after we change the texture thing. So basically what we need to do is when we start making a level, we need to define what textures we're using. Otherwise, we're pretty much doomed. Yeah. So much for that. We have to basically pull it in all in by default, or else we're pretty much doomed. Now the interesting thing that you have to mention is the fact of the matter that like in Quake, they use different textures from multiple different WADs. And yeah. That really doesn't sound like it's going to work too well here. YouTube, listen on repeat? Why are you buffering? Hooray. Amazing listen on repeat button. It didn't even work. I had to manually do it. At this point, why am I not just listening to a YouTube playlist or something like that and just re-clicking the first item in the list? I thought that was the entire point of this. Hooray for YouTube list on repeat being the most useless thing ever because it buffers and didn't load it at all. But yeah, these are basically the basic ideas. Like I said, the water is really the big thing of this one, which really was kind of pointless. The only really big thing to show about it is the fact of the matter that properties are tied to the textures. As you see, lava will always damage you. Water will always be swimmable in. You can't really change just based on what you see. So you can't like have it like a damaging 4 but not actually damaging you. So like how like Doom sometimes would have like blood textures that don't injure you, even though the normal blood texture would. You can't really pull that off in THRED. A water texture will always be a water texture for you to swim in. Lava will always injure you, and it's basically always the same rules apply to whatever texture you throw in there. Basically, it's all tied to that code or whatnot, and the code basically sees a certain particular texture, and that texture has certain properties. And you're not really permitted to change the textures and their mechanics unless you add in the code, which, as I kind of showed you, is not exactly the easiest of things to kind of like do. Especially the Quake code. That's like a whole nother aspect. So we haven't really gotten to worry about anything involving Quake code just yet. But yeah, as it stands, really, I'm not really sure how you're supposed to like access like the different WAD files. I'm not even sure like Aftershock has got to have a WAD file, right? It's got to have one because it's pulling in different textures than the default game. Like where are all of Aftershock's WADs? That's got to be in a place. It's got to be somewhere, right? I mean, you look in here, and this is all it wants. But Aftershock is pulling its own stuff. It's not pulling the default thing. But all it has in here is its maps, its demo files, its save file, and a bunch of readmes, which don't really help us at all. And that means that all the actual file stuff would be in here. Which, as you see here, is a bunch of stuff that helps with like the installation setup, transferred over from the disk. You can see all the different like E1, M1, all these different little names. Demo files, stuff we don't care about. Here we have like more Aftershock installation based things that could help us out, but not really that useful for actually playing. All the single levels, the standalone levels, that doesn't help me. XPack, which is a convenient program included with this that could be used, not really with 64-bit Windows, but doesn't help us at all with trying to get the actual resources from default Aftershock. And this, which is pretty much just Aftershock THRED, which doesn't help me either. Oops. too far out, and you get to see my main hard drive with a bunch of different games. And that pretty much is it. Yeah. Where am I supposed to go for textures? People? People! I don't know where I'm supposed to go! Well, that's a problem. So let's see here. What am I supposed to be doing? I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's an answer to my problems or my questions. So yeah, it seems like there really isn't anywhere to pull the Aftershock textures, as far as I can see. You would think they'd be like, oh, you can pull all the textures from there, but it seems like the way it is, you basically need to create your own textures. You basically need to pull your own textures in order to use it. Like, it doesn't even seem like you can use all of Aftershock's textures in this. You're pretty much ripped off in that regard. Like, you would think there'd be a PAK file modifying it or something. And I'm not seeing anything. The only thing I'm seeing are textures used in each individual level, which you can use by pulling apart the BSP files, which requires totally in another program. At this time, I don't even know how you'd like pull apart a BSP file. But Quake Army Knife is what you use nowadays to do that, and you'd be able to see all the different textures. And like I said, I'm not really sure how you exactly import or anything. It ain't that fun. Like I said, I'm kind of limited in that regard in knowledge with this stuff. Maybe someone more knowledgeable would know this stuff, but as it stands right now, I have no idea how you'd even do that much. I'm being pretty much limited in what I can do. I don't even know what I just did. I clicked something and now it's like freaking out at me. Please don't tell me I'm like creating new textures or so. That would be bad. I don't even know what I'm doing half the time, people. I really don't. I was hoping like, you know, like clicking alt or something would do it. I don't even know what I'm doing. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, it's not creating something in the world, which is what I was worried was happening. Okay, so now what? That's a good question, actually. What is now? Unless, of course, there is two textures, because I do see, like, something like 2 blocks. Oh, God. See, this is the thing. I'm messing up everything. I can't, like... Just because I'm clicking a wrong button. Because I'm still in move mode. That's why. But, like... There's another cube out there. Is that just the center line? The center line is the exact same color as the brush. That's terrible. Why is the brushes the same color as lines that tell me where exactly things belong on the grid? That made me paranoid to think that there was another brush right on top of this brush. Nope, just the line showing where the origin point is. You would think there'd be something that'd be a bit more clear, so a different color. It's like this thing is limited to 2 colors or so. When it isn't. You're saying blue, red, all these different colors, but yet they couldn't do a color to show me where the lines are? Yeah, that kind of stinks. So, alright. We do have some other stuff to talk about. Specifically, grouping. We can define groups. Grouping is one of the most powerful features of THRED. This is the feature that makes it possible to work on huge maps with THRED with relative ease. Thank God, because so far I can't find a way to make things easy. There are 4 buttons and a drop-down list dedicated to working with groups, which is this area up here. So you see, nothing's private group at the moment. I don't even know how to make things private group in THRED. The buttons are on the bottom button bar all the way to the right. 4. Okay, yeah, these 4. Remove and add to group, create a group, group attributes, and something else. Something else! Who knows what this one does? It doesn't even have a tooltip. Yay! Okay, let's see here. The drop-down list shows all the groups for the current map. The group selected in this box is the current group. Okay. Now, could you tell me how to add groups, please? You know, I liked it when they were actually giving me a nice detailed tutorial, because then at least I was doing something. The left mouse button is used to put THRED into the group select mode. Well, the left group button is to put... The left group button. This one? What's the left group button? What are you talking about, the left group button? That's what he says here. The left group button is used to put THRED into group select mode. Once you're in group select mode, you can highlight groups of brushes and entities in any 2D window. Okay, how do we get to... Does this work? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Or am I doing something wrong? I have no freaking clue at this point, people. I'm just basically clicking stuff and hoping it doesn't destroy my entire world. You realize the problem with this design? Yeah. Okay. So... Yeah, now we can click on anything in the 2D world and it should add it to a group, right? Right? Can highlight groups of brushes or entities in 2D window. To do this, use the left mouse button to drag a box around the brushes or entities you want in your group. You can use the right mouse button to deselect brushes you don't want. Oh, so I can't just click? I have to like drag? Yeah, this is totally working. Something tells me this isn't the right button. What's this do? Yeah, see, this isn't working. You need to like drag a bots. So is that how you actually edit things in this? Am I supposed to like drag a bots or something? That doesn't work. I can't drag a bots in this. And I can't do that because I'll move it. So I need to like drag a bots using this. And then I can right click or something. Right click and drag. Okay, so you need to click and drag to select to deselect bots. What a terrible... Why couldn't I just click on something? Nope, have to drag a bots around it. Wait, what? Why isn't this working? Oh, because I'm right clicking. Yeah, this is like really weird design. But okay, this is how you get a group. So like, say you wanted to... How would I group all the brushes without grouping like the entities? I have no freaking clue. Brilliant design. You'd have to basically group everything. Then you'd have to like ungroup this, ungroup this, ungroup this, ungroup this. Well, actually I would want to group this. Ungroup this, group this one, and ungroup anything in the middle. And there we are. These are brushes. Congratulations, I grouped a brush. Now what's the point of grouping it? I grouped stuff, right? Did I group stuff? I think it's grouped. Now what? Okay, when you have selected a group of brushes, you can either add it to the current group, as shown by the drop-down list, or create a new group with it. Adding a brush to the current group is the way you move brushes from one group to another. I see. And if I want to create a group, how did that work? That didn't help me at all. That didn't even help me at all, people. That was totally pointless. I don't get the point of this. What is the point? What does this do, by the way? What was the point of this again? They said something about this earlier on. Like the gray. This was gray because of X or Y or Z or so, and it's incomplete because of that. What was it that it said it was incomplete because it's grayed out? Oh boy, I completely forget. And now, good luck trying to find it. Yeah, I'm trying to find where it's... I'm trying to find out what it is grayed out. Not seeing anything. Okay, I'm actually gonna assume it's part of another file, which for some reason I don't even have up on my computer right now. I'm really doing well, ain't I? Let's go back to Aftershock. THRED. It's a tutorial, maybe? That's what I'm looking at right now. Is it README? Nothing in here of interest. License? No. So I looked at license, I looked at README, I looked at template, I looked at tutorial. Is there any other READMEs here? It's gotta be in... Because template doesn't help me at all. There was some way that told me it was a beta. Let's see here. We're working on it, we're doing stuff, blah blah blah. Trying to figure out where exactly he said that was a beta in some way. Pull this back up. Where is it that it said it's beta? I mean, this doesn't even cover all aspects of it, but where is it going? I could have sworn I had talked about more than this. And I'm trying to find where it even said that. Like, it said something about the G button. God, I can't even find it. Oh, this stinks. I have no idea where it was. Hooray! I read it. I read it. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, people. I don't believe I'm crazy, at least. I might be crazy. But I don't believe I am. Let's see here. Test tutorial. Was it like about THRED? Oh, yeah. Group rotation isn't done. That's what group rotation is. Okay, that's what that is about. Hooray! I figured out what the G button's about. It's about group rotation. Yeah, that totally was useless. I'm glad we tried figuring that out, people. It felt totally useful. Okay, back to trying to figure out what in God's name I'm doing here. I select a bunch of stuff, and everything is now looks like it's selected in group mode. Deselect anything that isn't a brush. There we are. I have things working. Now, how does one do anything with a brush? I've still yet to figure out how to do anything with brushes I've already created. Let's see here. How do you create, like, create a group? Okay, there we are. Brushes. Okay. I've gotten it. I've selected it. And so if I try and move it, does it move everything together? No. I don't get this. What was the point of groups? Okay. Why did I do this, people? Well, this is how you select and deselect the brush. And you select or deselect it using this annoying mechanic. So say I select everything within here. Could I like look at it in the object property dialog? Could I like change the texture using this or so? Wouldn't that be freaking amazing? So like say I selected everything. Deselect everything actually. What I want to do is select everything in the corners. There's like these brushes in the corners. I want to select this. These pillars. There we are, all 4 pillars, and now I just want to go to my texture browser. Instead I want to select this. Actually I think it's already that, isn't it? So instead I want to select something that's totally different. Let's try this one for size. Wouldn't that be amazing if this actually works? I mean, it's wood 4 now. Apply? Maybe? Okay. Brushes, let's change this to be create group pillars. Okay, I got pillars. So that's how you select everything in the group, I guess. You can get group attributes. So we know how to like do that. Let's say I did something like wanted to select, say, this brush, and this brush, and this brush, and this brush, and say we called it lights. Lights. Okay, but that's only 4 brushes. Oh no, I need to create it with the 5th brush up here. So I select this one, and what basically happens is, you can add it to the current group by doing this. And this, now if I go here, gets me none! That didn't help me at all. I'm confused, people, honestly. Then again, there's no brushes in the group. Oh. Yeah, it's not gonna really work, is it? How do I delete group? How does one delete a group? I don't know how one deletes a group now. Okay. Brushes. Say I select these 4 pillars and I say remove from group. Now, if we go to the group property editor, it just M-Watch and Bus Concrete versus pillars, which has nothing in it at all. Wait, what? Why is there nothing in pillars? Well, let's see here. Let's select these 2, and we shall call it add to current group. And now we have 2 metalettes. We select these and we add it to the current group. We should have 4 metalettes. Yep. So now, if you look at it, these have 4 and these have 2. So that's it. Basically, it already automatically removes it from the group as far as I can figure. It just is that otherwise it does whatever. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Let's see here. Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. Where were we? To add the brushes to a current group, click the 3rd button from the left. Add the current group. To create a new group, click the 2nd button from the left, create group. That's completely wrong in order, honestly. It's not from the left, it's from the right, honestly, and it's totally different where it is. You want to add to a current group, it's here. You want to create a group, it's right over here. So that's totally different from what he said. If you create a new group, you'll be presented with the group attributes dialog. From here, you can type in the name of the group and assign it a color. Click the solid colored box to change colors. Oh, so this is how we define like different colors. So if you want like a nice green, now the pillars are green versus the brushes. Normal brushes are red. The water is going to be blue. And the lights, I'm not sure if the lights can be, but we'll make those yellow. There we are, look at that. Now let's select this one and add this to lights. Of course, that is the currently selected one, so that doesn't even matter. You know, if we select like the entity mover and right click on it, you'll see it's yellow now. That's all that really matters. Okay, so now what? That really is how we change colors and make it look prettier and complex, even though we didn't really do anything at all. Okay, visible groups. The rightmost button on the bottom button bar is the group's attributes button. The group's attributes dialog shows all the groups in the current map. You can select any group and change its color or rename it from here. Okay, so far so good. Next to each group in the list is a set of brackets with the ets. With ets in the middle. If you double click the name that is in this list, you will toggle an ets in these brackets. All groups with ets are visible, groups without it are non-visible. I see, so we could hide them. Like this. And somehow that's hiding the groups. I'm kind of not seeing it right now, people. Yeah. Somehow this is making it... I don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't make any sense to me. We could also click group visible. It does the exact same thing, but it doesn't make sense why it's visible or not. What am I doing? Does this actually like changing this? Okay, let's continue reading. The visible attribute is only used when you put thread into show visible groups mode. You can do this by clicking the second button from the left on the top button bar. Second button. Oh! Show visible groups. Or show current groups. Yeah, so this way we can only see what we want to see. And not everything. Look at that. Or all that's visible. Like this. Now it's making a bit more sense. And this will explain a lot when we actually go back and try and look at, whatchamacallit, Basin. But yeah, this is how it all works together. So if we go back to like, our groups, how do we do that again? I forget how to get to... Let's also make another group for the start point then. So then we could hide everything and show everything. Where is, like, select it. We need to, like, drag a bar over this. We need to drag stuff to get rid of these from being selected. And that way this is water. Water. And now if we go into group attributes and go back to this, we can rename this one as main room. That's pretty good. Okay, and we need one more. That's basically going to be the spawn point. So if we go and we select here... Wait, where's the spawn point? Do we have a spawn point, people? I thought we did. This is scary. Where is the spawn point? This... Okay. I'm a bit concerned. Okay, there's only a few lights. Wait, what? No. We show all. Oh! It was because I didn't have all up. Okay, so we select this instead. And we just select the light. Now we can add this to another group. And we'll call this group Spawn. Okay, okay. So now we hide the spawn, and we hide the lights, and we hide the water. This way now, when we go to visible mode, we're just seeing the area here. This is because it's an edit brush, so this really doesn't disappear, but we're seeing everything that's just in the normal level. Alright, so we're able just to see the brushes that we want to see. What is this about? Like, what is this? What is this red dot? Oh, that's the middle controller. Okay, I gotcha. Oops, that's a staircase button. Ooh, we found a way to make a staircase. That's not really useful at the moment. Let's see here. Not even sure if it would work in Quake. So let's see here. Click the second button on the left on the top toolbar. When threads in this mode, only visible groups will appear in thread. By rebuilding the BSP, click the red button. You can see a solid preview of just the visible groups. This is very handy for working on large maps because it allows you to keep the data down to a manageable amount. If we were to show all of a map all at the time, it would quickly get very hard to work on parts of the map simply because the number of lines being drawn on the screen at any time. So yeah, this makes a lot more sense. So if I do like this, now you just see the main room. Instead of all the other junk that'd be on there, you just get to see the main room. And so this is kind of what was happening with that other area that we saw on Basin, and why we didn't get to see the full room, and why it looks so garbage. Because we weren't being able to see the full room, we were only seeing a mini part of it. Okay, exploring partial maps. There's a major advantage to being able to exploit just part of your map. It'll run through QBSP much faster, and you typically don't have to viz this map. THRED will only export whatever you can see in the editor. If you have just one room visible and you export to a map file, that room is all that will be in the map file. Be sure you include whatever group has the info player start, or you won't be able to play a map. I see. But yeah, this is basically how you edit things around and make things visible or whatnot. So like we do this, we BSP again. Versus we do it with this versus this. And if we BSP this, I mean, shouldn't the water be visible? How do you move? Is it because I'm not having this down? That's why. It's because I selected the wrong button. I find it interesting that it's not like quick BSPing the water back. If we quick BSP this though, it gets rid of everything. Quick BSP this back, it brings back just that. Quick BSP this, it brings back everything. So yeah, that's really how you do it. Amazing. Alright, so that's kind of how you just do some advanced amazing things. Alright. So, in THRED, you can add a brush to the world by clicking on the Brush Add button. Yellow box with a plus sign over it. You can also subtract a brush from the world by placing it over another brush and clicking on the minus button. When you do this, it will create a hole in the world where the default brush is. The hole applies only for the brushes that were down before you subtracted the brush. If you want to add a new brush that goes through the hole, you can do that. The brush that you subtracted from the world stays visible in THRED and can be selected and modified. If you move a subtraction brush, it moves the hole around in the world. Subtraction in THRED is not working 100% of the time right now. It's possible to create something in THRED that doesn't work right. That's being worked on. Oh. So yeah, that's why the subtraction thing is so when we tried subtracting the water, it didn't end up working. It ended up causing an error. Because right now it's actually pretty bad to try and subtract things in THRED. I see. So that's the thing. When you subtract from a brush, you have to be careful to overlap the subtraction brush so it doesn't line up exactly with the faces that are there. For example, if you want to put a hole in the wall, you want to have it like a certain way or so. And you don't want to have an overlap on the edges of the brush you're subtracting from. Because it will create an infinitely thin plane in the edges of the brush you're subtracted from. And it'll look wrong in the game. Wait, what? You have to be careful to overlap the subtraction brush so it doesn't line up exactly with the faces that are there. If you want to put a hole in the wall, you do it a certain way. Okay, so yeah, you want the subtraction brush not to be on the line that you're trying to subtract from, or else it's infinitely long. So basically that's what ended up happening. We ended up creating an infinitely long brush. Apparently. But if you want to create like a doorway or something like that, that's basically how you do it. So like say you wanted like 200 by like 200 by say 400 by 400 or something like that. And say we want it to be 256. Well actually like 128 would work well here. Make it a hollow brush. And then we move this somewhere. Maybe we move this. How do we move this? Oh yeah, move over this. And you'd want to create it like halfway in the world. Just that way it's like in there, but not in there. Kinda got it rotated wrong now. Oh well. Let's see here. We moving around still. But as you can see, this would be like visible in the world, would cut it out and allow you to create a subtraction area from it. So you subtract it now, you have a hole in the wall there. Which really isn't that great. Honestly, I'd rather have like a hole in the wall there. Because this isn't supposed to be hollow. Yes, but the area between these brushes would be. So it's solid. So you'd want to make this like a subtraction brush. It's like I did before. Of course, now I just messed up and made it infinitely tall, didn't I? Yes, yes, I did. Well, people, I totally broke the map. Ain't that brilliant? Yeah. Absolutely freaking brilliant. Okay, associating brushes. Quake has several entities that allow special behavior within the Quake world. To use these special entities, you must associate them with brushes. These brushes define the area effect, like a trigger, or the thing to move, like a door. To associate a brush with an entity, follow these steps. I wish there was like a way just to fix this, but of course there isn't. We'd have to like recreate this from scratch. Did I mention how much I hate THRED? At least this beta version. Even, you know, trying to figure out what we're doing, it seems like it's so overcomplicated to do anything. Really, if it wasn't for the fact that I was the first one to do it, it really would not even be popular at all anywhere in Quake's history, probably. Because it's so complicated in comparison to later editors. Just to do some simple things. Select. Okay, so if we try and do this and we... Oh, that's how you select the brush. Select brush. You know, that would have been nice to know earlier, people. Yeah. Would have been nice to know, but we didn't. We weren't even told about that. Okay, so let's see here. Let's make this a 1024 by 1024 by 5... Actually, it wouldn't be 512 by 512, but doesn't really matter. We don't really have much more of an actual tutorial to kind of do. It's kind of just now little advanced things that we're talking about here. And if we now solidify this and make it part of the world, like I said, I showed you what the subtract brush kind of does, even if then I broke the level by doing it. We also need to add an entity. So let's quickly add the player start entity to this thing, just so we have one there. And now we need associating brushes. So now we need to create a brush to associate with the group selected tool. So let's see here. We need to create like a door or something like that. It's time to recreate a very famous map that we'll eventually be playing, I guess. Yeah, let's see here. Let us create a brush. Let's try to do 16 by 16 across it. With a Y size of about 300. Let's make it solid. And there we are. There's our freaking thing. This ain't a really good door now, is it? No, we need to make it wide. On the Z direction, don't we? Or it'd be the X direction we want to make it wide on. 512 by 512. It's the wrong direction. I was right. It was Z. And actually, I want it to be more like 1024 by 1024, so maybe actually 2056 even. It's like this. Let's actually cut it down a bit. That's a little bit too ridiculous for me. So let's see here. Let us go back and we're going to make this brush a brush with about 1,050 sets. 1,050 sets. Just something enough to stretch across and have like no holes anywhere. Now we'll move this in the top view. Which direction? Let's move it like this way, I guess. So it's on this other edge. Yeah, it needs to be a bit bigger. Because when it slides, it needs to be bigger. So let's see here. Let's actually go for 1,500. That's gotta be enough. Yeah, that's plenty. And we'll do it like this. So it's mostly on this side, and we can slide easily down. And oh god, now I'm messing it up. Okay. Now we need to change the texture to something. Say like this texture would work well, or even this. This would be a nice texture to use. And there we are. Now if we solidify this in our world, there it is. There's our freaking brush texture thing. Aren't you too happy about this? Of course, I probably did it when we slope it down, which is probably pretty terrible. You know what? When in doubt, create another one! Right? Duplicate this and make it even more terrible of a level. I've been inspired to make terrible levels, people. This is what I, as a horrible individual, must do. Okay, so we do it here, we solidify again, and there's our second. Amazing. So, maybe if I stop moving around the brush and actually went into it. Let's see here. So now we're trying to associate a brush with an entity, which means we need to select it with the group selector tool. So we use this thing, drag it across, and there we are. We selected it. Go to the entity manager. Create group, which created as a door. A doory door. We'll select it again, and this time around we will change it so that way it becomes, because we need to go to the attributes editor, not the group editor. We actually need to go to the entity manager. Okay. The wrench wheel light bulb. Add the entity you want to associate these brushes with. Okay. Which we need to use a func door entity in this case if we want to make a door. Okay. Okay, and then we need to click associate selected brushes. And that somehow does it. Only click the associate button once. If you click it more than once, you will effectively associate the entity with nothing, because that brush is no longer selected after the first time you click that button. You can associate several brushes with one entity. This is useful for making complex objects that move like one thing. Say like a boat. You know, like how Jim Lowell did it in his level. That's kind of why he said that. But yeah, let's see here. So we associate it with this. Yep, we created it. Now we need to create set some of the values that we want to make our door behave the way we want it to. So our angle's the angle that it moves at, the direction it moves in. Assuming 0 is what we want. It's set in degrees. Looking from the top, basically, this is 0. So we basically want it to go from, say, 90 to 270. So we really want it to go 270. Is the number we want here. Okay. And sounds. They go from 1 to 5. Speed is how fast the door opens. 100 is like a medium speed. Wait is how long in seconds does the door stay open before closing. He uses 2 a lot, so it's a rather quick value before it closes behind the player. Let's see here. And of course the class name, all that fun stuff. You can also assign an angle at -1 to go up and -2 to go down. I see. If you have 2 doors touching each other, Quake will link them together so that when one door opens, the other one does too. This is almost always what you want, but there are times that you don't want this to happen, and it can produce unexpected results. There is a way to unlink them, but I don't know what it is right now. And this is a guy who uses the other. Okay, we're pre-doomed. The only thing I can recommend at this time is that you don't make the doors touch each other if you don't want Quake to link them together. Alright. So let's see here. If I do this, and then it's door. We can do this, people. We can do an amazing map. We're going to create a door level. Yeah, this is a very unique level. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be absolutely amazing, people. So, QBSP door. Light door. Yes. Now we have our door to BSP. We'll take this and put it in our maps. We'll get rid of tests, as I really don't care about that at the moment. All I care about is getting my door level going. I'm determined to play door. Yes! Call to 449 set model door QH func door no function. Amazing. There's no function for the thing I just did. Wait, did I like not assign it right or something? Let's see here. Group selector. Let's see here. Let's only do what's visible. And refresh the BSP on this. Oh. That stinks. Yeah, I want to select the door here. Door here. Let's see. This is in door. This is visible. Then why is it not visible? Like, it's just black. I don't get this, people. I don't get this at all. Why is this black? Why can't I see it at all? It's like a totally black object that wasn't actually created in world. Did I actually create this object in the world? Add brush. Now this brush that was just selected, I want to select this. Fine, I'll select this one. I don't even care anymore. And I will add this to the current group. How do you like them apples, apples? Okay, yeah, this is the only one that's selected, and the only one visible is this. Somehow. Like, that makes any sense at all, but okay, we'll say it does. For the efforts of science. Okay, so we now cam out maybe. And now we say we select everything. And door. Now see, this is two things for concrete slabs. Okay. Now if we do that, you can still see the object is selected. That's positive. Now I want to go back to my func door. Just in case. I want to go back to my attributes selected. I want to go to my light entity dialog. And I want to associate with this brush. Okay. This should work. This should work. Watch as it doesn't. Okay, let's see here. QBSP door, light door, and this bloody thing should work. Right? Right? Right, guys? Probably not, but it's going to try. Let's persevere, right? God, I just want this thing to work. Please work. Please bloody work. I just want a door. I just want a door. That's all I want. I want to be happy with the door. I want to see a door and be happy and be like, yay! And now it's not working. Yeah. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. Probably THRED wasn't even compatible with doors at the times. Who knows? I don't even know. Anyway, if you want to make a platform, it's very, very similar to a door. You just place the brush in the world that you want to be the lift, and then you create the lift in the up position, where you want it to kind of be in the end result. Next, you associate it with a func plat entity, and set the different keys to make it perform the way you want. And really the big thing is that it has like a height, so, and you have like two different sounds, like a hydraulic lift or a chain lift, and you have like a weight and speed of how it moves. The only behavior allowed for a lift is for it to start in the down position and rise up when someone walks on it. You can use func doors to make other behaviors. So yeah. Brilliant, huh? So yeah, there's a lot of other things you can do, but I can't even make a door work. You know why? Maybe because I don't actually have anything else being vised in the level. That might be part of the problem. I just realized that might be a problem, people. Remember, it's whatever's visible in our world. Well, we didn't have anything visible in our world. Let's try this again. QBSP door. And what else? Light door, right? Actually, it doesn't even matter light, but whatever. I did anyway. And that closed it, so that's going to be a pain if I have to reload it again. Yay! I'm turning more cynical by the minute. Okay, this is the one I just did. So if I transfer this from this one, this should work. Obviously. Obviously it will work. Based on the fact that it will work. That's all I got. Science be praised! Look at this. Look at this, people. Yeah! Look at that. Door number 1 opening. And just trailing off into the distance. Door number 2. It's just a back wall. I kind of didn't function it properly. Wait. Now the stupid question. Where did the door go? Oh, there it is. Look at that. It's coming back. Honestly, how do you define where the door ends? No idea. But There's your door. You want a door? We made a door. You want to remember door? We got a door. Amazing, right? So yeah, really, I'm not even gonna bother with platforms because they're pretty much like doors. They're the exact same thing, except, you know, with one or two entity differences. Anyway, teleporters. They're triggers that move the player from one spot to another. You add a brush to the world and assign it to trigger teleport. The brush that you added will become invisible in the game, but when the player walks into it, they will activate the trigger teleport. To set the player's destination, you need to add an info teleport destination entity to the world and link it to the trigger teleport entity. I see. So basically what we're doing here is a camera, and we want to like move around, and we want to say we want to add another brush, say like 16 by 16 by 16 by 16. We want like a little tiny brush, and we want even 16 here. It's going to be a really maybe more like 16. That'll work. And we want this brush to be pretty low to the floor. Quake buffering! Proud of you, Quake. Thank you. Okay, back to... I love this repeat, unrepeat thing doesn't even work right. But we're stuck into it now, so let's just try and get through this thing. Okay, so somewhere in this freaking world there's gonna be a freaking teleporter. There'll be a freaking amazing. I'm also stuck to move on this linear pane for some reason in top view. It's like you have to move it this way. So yeah, here's a brush. It'll be invisible, but it'll be where the teleporter is. So now we want to select it with a group. Want to drag it over. Want to drag it over. We want to drag it over. Yeah. Oh, maybe it's because I didn't create the brush in the world yet. Okay. I'll create this random brush in the world. Drag it over it. That creates the brush. Add the current group. Oh wait, that just added it to the door. Drag over the brush again to remove from current group. Okay, now drag over the brush and we're going to create a new group. We want this to be a teleporter. Amazing. Okay, we want to drag over again to select it. Now we're going to go to here, and we want to create a new entity. You know, we don't want a function train or something like that. That's like our teleporter is. That's our platform, right? No, that's func plat we would be caring about. Func plat is that. No, what we want here is function teleporter, trigger teleport. So here we are. There's our trigger teleport. That's where we'll teleport from. Alright, that's good enough. Now we need to add an info associate. Now we need a new entity that is a info teleport destination. Teleport destination. Info teleport destination, okay. Okay, where's this one? Okay, this is somewhere. Let's move around in the world. And we'll throw it way over here for some reason. How about the opposite side of the random freaking giant door thing? Over here. Yeah, that'll totally work. Let's teleport to the opposite side of the door. Okay, so there we are. We teleport to the opposite side of the door and drop down. Now, to link them together, we need a combination of target and target name keys. Add a target key to the trigger teleport entity. How? Where's target name? how does one... please explain. You kind of didn't explain any of this. Add a target name key. How do you add a new key? Okay, target name. So like this. And then we add a target name. We'll add a target key to trigger teleport. No, I want it here then. So you come here, you're like... target is equal to... well, that just messed up something. Yeah, that's not good. It's class name. Don't want that to break on me. So yeah, I don't want to do that. You want to create new and then you do it. Okay, so we want to go to target here. And this target is empty right now. We want this target to be called T1. Then we want to go to target name and give it the exact same value. It's like we create a new one here, call it target name, and we use the exact same value here. And that should work. Quake is case sensitive, so if you capitalize a letter in one and not the other, your teleporter will not work. Once you've done that, position the info teleport destination where you want the player to land. You can add an angle key to the destination entity to indicate which direction you want the player to face after teleporting. So like if you add another one and you add angle 270. Actually, do I want like 180? I think so. 180 is where I want it. Okay, that's pretty good. This should work. Hopefully it does. Hopefully. But I'm not really expecting much of anything from this. Export to Quake. Another door. Let's get our CMD back up. And let's go to E. And let's go to Quake Mass, Aftershock, THRED, and then CD Quake Mass, Aftershock, THRED, and then we'll go and we'll say QBSP, door. Okay, that's good. That's good. We're doing good. We're doing good, people. Now, hopefully, this will translate to actually something working. That's the problem. We don't really know that part yet. But I'm going to try and persevere and see what happens. So, we've gone from this to this one. Okay, let's load this thing up, and do we actually get a function teleporter? Hopefully. Would that be amazing? F2. Now you can hear a teleporter! And if you walk into it... I had to put it as a little tiny teleporter. Ta-da! It works! For science! Science be praised! We found that we have a little hidden teleporter on our map. If you find the one little spot in it that teleports you, because I made it ridiculously small, you teleport. Boom, baby. Look at that. That's amazing. So we did it. We found out how to make a teleporter. We can make doors that open and close. As you see, it's actually two doors, so it's a weird door. Because I kind of made it botched, but whatever. I'm too lazy to make it properly. I'm just showing you guys how to do things at this point, and showing you the capabilities of the engine. So yeah, that's stuff you can do. You can make teleporters, you can make platforms, you can make doors. You can also do a lot of other stuff. You can also do like buttons. You know, triggers are used to make things happen. The example I will give is a button that opens a door. The actually is very similar to the teleport example, as you will see. To do this, create the door that you want to open. Add the target name to the func door. Okay, we want to go back to our thing here. We want to make another target name. We want to call this D1 maybe or something. Just something that's recognizable. So yeah, D1 works. Now create a brush that will be a button. Alright. What is going to be a button? Let's create a cube. Let's make it about, say, 16 by 16 by 16 by 16 works again. This will be another little button thing. And it will be somewhere. I need to move it. This will move it. Like about there. And if we create this object in our world, now this brush will be visible. And this will be basically our button. Now we want to basically group this like we would everything else, I guess. We want to create a new group. We want to call it button. Amazing. Okay, now we want to select it again. And we want to go back to our entity dialog. We want to go to here. We want to go a func button or something probably, right? Let's see here. There's a func button. Yep. We want to do that. Func button, add a target key to the button. Give it the same value as the door. Now when the button is pressed, you will trigger the door to open them. Okay, fair enough. So now if we add a target, make it D1. There's that. If you go to func door, target name is D1. This should work perfectly fine. So, oh wait, I didn't actually attribute anything to anything. That could be a problem. Okay, let's see here. We need to select, we still have the door select actually. All we need to do is go back to our entity dialog. We need to go to our func button and associate with the select brushes. Okay, that'll work fine. Oops, I clicked new. I don't want to do that. Now I need to go. We need to save this again as door. We need to export to Quake. That'll work fine. We need to come in here. We need to do QBSP door again. This will work, hopefully, as a way to unlock a door. This would be awesome, right? A button to press to open a door. No longer can the door just be opened. No, now it's a door that requires a button. Look at the complex stuff I'm adding to my level, people. So this is the one I just created. So if I replace it with this, and we go back to DOS spot, yeah, it's a little bit of a tedious procedure still, but at least I'm getting used to it. And we say map door. There's our door, right there. Look at that. I can't get past this wall, but if I step on the button, it opens the door. Look at this. This is amazing. And this is how you do it. Amazing, right? Bunny hop, bunny hop, bunny hop, bunny hop, bunny hop. And so that's how you do that. This is how you make doors. Well, buttons to doors. So that's, yeah, that's basically how you do any type of trigger, actually. Say you want to do like a brush in the world associated with a trigger once or trigger multiple. Give it a target key with the same value as the door will cause the door to open when the player walks through the brush. So yeah, that's basically like if you use the trigger multiple, it will open every time. If you use the trigger once, it will only open the first time the player enters the trigger brush. After the first time, the trigger is ignored by Quake. So yeah, so say you wanted like scripted lights that turned on. You'd use like a trigger once value, trigger it to turn on with the light that first time, and then like keep it on after it's been triggered or so. And it'd be ignored afterwards by Quake or something like that. So yeah. Look at that. That's how you do like complicated values to make different things. Isn't that pretty awesome? Amazing. Look here, all the different little details we're learning. So anyway, we're getting mostly there. We've done most of the stuff or so. We've learned how to like create different objects in the world now. Beyond like doors, beyond like basic brushing. Now I basically showed you how exactly you kind of go about creating like a second room or so, even if I really didn't do it because it's really heavily buggy on this version. And it's absolutely frustrating because if you click the wrong button, you can destroy your entire level. So yeah, I can see why making one room maps is a lot easier here. But I did show you how to do doors. I showed you how to do basically platforms. They're basically the exact same thing. I showed you buttons. I showed you water. And I showed you teleporters. So yeah, this is basically all the different little mechanics kind of needed to basically make a level to kind of navigate through. At least in the basic layman's form. And that's all we really care about here. We don't need to really get that fancy. I'm not really in the mood to make like a really complex level using THRED. No. If you're going to do that, use a more modern editor. But at least we see how it was kind of done back in the day, in kind of relation to nowadays. And yeah, it is pretty similar in a lot of different mechanics. The editor properties, which is really what we kind of were focusing on a lot today, was the attribute properties, which defines a lot of different things, is actually very, very similar to some editors later on, such as Drumhead for Thief. Yeah, Drumhead's very, very similar in design to that style, but the link space stuff of that does feel better or whatnot, mainly because the fact of the matter that it's a lot easier to select what you want to work with. It's not like you have to like have multiple selection buttons just to try and get what you want selected. Like there's a select entities button, a select brush button. It gets really, really messy because of all this stuff. And also, to make matters worse, like I said, as soon as we close it up and say, I'm done with this for the day, we basically lose our ability to ever make the level any more complex than we already did. That still kind of stinks. That's really the worst part of it. And that really kind of kills any effort to really like make anything interesting, because who wants to make something if at any time you can risk like a crash, you can risk anything, and you basically lose not only part of your level, but your entire level because you can't make any more of it. That really stinks. So between that and the fact of the matter that it's absolutely frustrating to work with doing it, yeah, I can see why, like, it's pretty more important usually just to slap something together and get out. Like I said, as a technical thing, I'm always going to say that it's definitely praiseworthy or whatnot because it's amazing that they made it in THRED. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's still just that. It's something that's pretty terrible to play. And I would say that for even this level that I just made. Would you consider this fun to play? Probably not. No, it's a terrible test level that would be just as bad as some of the Aftershock levels we check out. So yeah, ain't that amazing? So yeah, this is most of what we had to check out. We checked out all different mechanics in the level, and I think actually this is a good place to stop because we've covered a lot of different little details and shown you how to do water and all these different things. At this point, we basically know most of what we need to know. I do think I'll do a third part just to show off like enemies and weapons and that type of thing. But yeah, this is most of what kind of the level editor is like, as you can kind of see. By this point, you can kind of see how things kind of go. How like you do most of what you need to do to get you started in THRED. Even if it's not exactly the most interested in things at all, especially when, any modern person isn't going to want to really do it in THRED. Like, I would never recommend anyone ever use THRED themselves, especially this version. Yeah. What would you rather use? Something that, you can actually make, like, a nice complex thing, or this, whereby you lose all your work after one thing, have to use the command line thing just to, do a BSP every single time, and then transfer it over to another directory just to load the bloody file, and yeah, it's just tedious. It's tedious, it's frustrating, and it's not a simple, streamlined process. That's really the big problem at the end of the day. It's not a simple process. And that really is, going forward, it definitely is a nice thing about more modern technology as we go along. It's the process got more streamlined. In comparison to this, where the end product is good, the game is good, but the editors themselves are pure frustrating hell. So yeah, hopefully this has been a eye-enlightening thing on exactly kind of what you could kind of do with the editor, some of the various things that can happen with it. We made a lot more progress in this one in regards to the last one, mainly because this time around I had some idea of what I was doing. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed all the different stuff, especially since now a lot of it's pretty similar to each other. And next time around, we'll do some different things, including different enemies or different things like that. Um, so yeah, thank you very much all for watching. It has been an adventure, and I shall see you all in part 3, which I believe will be the final part. Until then, see you all next time.